Guys, stay healthy. God, no!
Oh, you
Stay
fucking
healthy,
choked.
stay safe, and kill maim.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Red Path. You are watching the Skulltakers. I'm your host, Dara, and joining me today is another member of the Red Path. It is Brian, now known as John World Leader, as you have managed to claim top World Leader player for 2024, highest World Leader at the Las Vegas Open. And today we're going to be discussing that very tournament that saw you go on a run that would have honored Khorne, I think, because you absolutely smashed it, dude. You took home the big prize. Mr. World Leader himself, how are you feeling after a phenomenal amount of Warhammer?
I'm feeling great, Dara. Tournament was a blast. I really feel like kind of like my whole 40K career up to this point has been leading up to like an LVO or like an LGT style attendance for an event. Like I haven't been to that many super majors really. This is like the first like super major I've been to. Like Adepticon kind of counts, but like less than half the size of this tournament, like size. So getting to go to LVO, getting to just meet a lot of new people, getting to say hi to the community, like all of it felt awesome. I had an absolute blast, and Vegas was also great. I made sure I gave myself enough time to actually go see the city too. Like Vegas is pretty wild. Like say it smells like cigarettes and sadness or like cigars and happiness, and usually nothing in between. And I had a cigar in my mouth the whole time. So it was
Nice.
great. I had a great time.
Good,
Um,
good.
I highly recommend going to LVO for anybody in the future. I'm definitely looking to go back.
Nice, man. Hell yeah. So you obviously had a very, very successful run at the LVO. You featured on the Tabletop Live stream at one point as well. We'll pop a link down below if you want to catch up on that. And all the previous links to any of Brian's streamed games are in our Discord as well, which we strongly recommend you join. Today we're going to run through the games that you played, Brian. So we're going to do our standard Skull Takers format. We'll touch on the list a little bit. We're quite aware that there's probably people tuning in who haven't necessarily heard of or seen the breakdowns of the RB2K, which is the list archetype that Brian ran for the LVO. So we'll dive into that a little bit as well and discuss the games, the key highlights, the turning points, and what went right or wrong, as we'll say. So we'll kick it off with the list. I think we'll jump straight into this one. So you brought the RB2K. Why don't you run us through that iteration, what it looks like, and what it does on the table, Brian?
Yeah, so the RB2K, it's an oldie but a goodie. Props to Ryan Bell for just kind of being like the person that tells me where to deploy and what list to play, and then I just go kill people. So like this is like the list that he's kind of come up with that we've been rolling with. And I know like the Vessels of Wrath Grotmust detachment has dropped recently, and it actually is quite a good detachment. Brass Tacks just came down to it before LVO. I didn't have that much time to really like cook up something new or cook up something with vessels that I felt comfortable with enough reps. So the RB2K, old reliable, which at this moment in time I'm still probably convinced it's the best way to play World Eaters at this moment, but research can be done, right? Like the meta's growing, we got the Codex coming out soon. Things are going to change, and I honestly really hope the RB2K dies when the Codex comes out because I'm ready for some variety. But it's just starting off, we have Angron. I don't care that he got nerfed at 435. We still play him. If you watch the stream game, you'll see exactly why. Invocatus, and Master of Executions with Berserker Glaive. We have 2x10 Jackals, never leave home without the second squad. We have one 10-man Berserker squad, one 5-man Berserker squad, one squad of two Chaos Spawn, a Rhino, and then into the 8-bound. Obviously, we have 2x3 regular 8-bound. Fantastic to have multiple groups of regular 8-bound to get the wound rerolls and that harassment distance up. And then we have 1x6 Exalted 8-bound and 1x3 Exalted 8-bound for the rapid ingress threat if you want it. So it's pretty standard, like set of like none of those inclusions would surprise you. Everything in there has a unique role. The one strength of the RB2K is that it is very versatile. It can play a tradey, scory game. Just functionally, World Leaders aren't great at trading, but like this list still gives you a chance to, while also having all of the hammers and all of the good tools that we would really like lean into for a lot of our hard matchups. So it's not as lethal as it could be, but it also plays the game just a little bit better.
Yeah. Perfect toolbox list, as we've kind of always said. If you do want other kind of thoughts and breakdowns of the RB2K, you can check out any of our previous Skulltaker videos where we've done it, and I think we've done a couple of video features analyzing the RB2K as well. But yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, the time with the RB2K could be limited. Obviously, we have no idea what the Codex has in store, and a lot of people are messing around with Vessels of Wrath. But I think it's very, very fair to say that in its current iteration, in the current meta, the RB2K is the competitive build if you want to go out there and win tournaments. Now, you didn't win the LVO, which is honestly pathetic, but you did okay. I think it's fair to say. Let's talk about your run because it was a long run, right? Unless there's anything else you want to get to before we dive into that.
I mean, my journey to LVO in itself was a struggle.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, let's just start with like, because we're gonna take our times on this one, guys. This is such an adventure, and every ounce you could squeeze almost an entire video's content out of just getting to LVO for me. But we'll keep it relatively brief. So it starts with booking my hotel room and booking my flights. And right now, Michigan is suffering from -20 wind chills outside, Fahrenheit -20 wind chills outside. So it is colder than all hell. And it was about that when, not that bad, but still like 0 to negative when I was getting on my plane to leave. But getting on the plane was the struggle. First, it's always awkward explaining to airport security guards that you're a nerd and that what you're about to send through the X-ray is definitely something they haven't seen before, especially at a local town airport. And I was right. Like the dude was just completely confused with this. He's like, he opened it all up and he's like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Oh, it's a game called 40K." And he just goes, "How?" And I was like, "I don't know how to respond to that, but it's a game. I'm a nerd." And he's like, "Did you all paint this yourself?" And I was like, "Yeah, especially that Angron. I did it myself." But
All right, man.
he didn't know what an Angron was, so he just stared at me weird. Yeah, no, it was just fun getting that through security. It's not that hard. My mag tray case, I'm like in love with it now. That's like the only way I'm gonna tran or like fly with an army.
It's
Quick
good,
little
right?
shout out. Magnets are the way.
Yeah,
I only had one model break the whole trip, all across 4 flights, so I'm actually surprised.
not
Only one broke.
not bad,
Uh,
not bad.
but then we get to the terminal and we're just waiting there and it's like been too long and then a delay comes up and I'm like, uh-oh. And then the pilot comes out and he's like, the plane's broken. And I'm like, oh, that's a problem.
That
And he's
is
like, yeah,
significant.
we got the mechanics coming out to do diagnostics. I've never seen this in my entire career, is what he said. And then turned around and went back on the plane. And I was just like, you know what? I'd rather you just said you were refueling it or there was technical difficulties, not that the plane is broken that you're about to put me on. I don't care if you fix it. The bug's in my head now, right? And we're
Yeah.
about to fly over like Lake Michigan. So I'm gonna be o over open water. And then he comes up like 2 minutes later, he's like, nope, we got it. And I was just like,
Are you sure?
are you sure? Like that was like an are you sure moment. Get on the plane. And I mean, I will never check. I love my mag track for it's a carry-on size. I will never check that to save my on my life. Like if somebody tries to check me at the gate with that, I am going to probably just run on the plane holding it like to my chest, and they're gonna have to take it off my dead body or put me on the next flight because I'm not checking my army ever. Um, and they handed me a check slip. They said I had 2 bags. One was like my backpack, which was definitely overstuffed with clothes, and then my army. And I kind of just took the check bag thing and just stuck it in my pocket because I didn't really want to check my bag, and I knew it would fit in the carry-on thing. It's carry-on size, so they're like, just in case it doesn't fit, it definitely would fit. So we get up there, and actually, these storage bins are like I can't just put my army in and slide it in. I have to turn it sideways, put it up, and put it in. So my heart just dropped. I was like, I have to turn my army
Yeah,
sideways,
I've
and
had
I
to
know
do
how
that too.
shaky the plane is
It's
too.
actually okay though. It's actually fine.
But I'd never done it before, and this was not the event I wanted to find out the hard
Yeah.
way with a beautifully painted Demon Primarch in there. So I kind of just shoved my back, took the carry-on thing, shoved my back. I checked my backpack, which also couldn't fit up there because it was overstuffed with clothes. Checked my backpack, and then I took my bag and I just put it down at my feet in front of me at the
Fair. Yeah.
in the
Fair.
seats, and it was fine. And she even came by and she was like, "It's delicate, I get it. Just make sure you can get out." But like, I was not checking that bag. So yeah, that was my journey. I get off the plane in Vegas. I'm like, Vegas, baby, and I'm immediately accosted by like just some I don't know who, but just some very angry man that thought I was just eyeballing him just came over and started screaming at me, and I was like, "Wow, fucking Vegas, everybody's feral here." So that was just the start of it. Was just getting accosted by somebody for no reason, and then made it to the hotel where I had to wait 5, 6 hours for the homies to show up. I was staying with Folger and the Gem City crew for the most part, and then we went out gambling, and we had a great time. We showed up Wednesday to give myself a Wednesday, Thursday to go explore Vegas and the con. And it was definitely worth it. Like if you guys ever go to one of these big events, give yourself a couple days. Like LGT, LVO, any of the US Opens, they're all in very cool cities. So like Vegas is cool, especially Vegas, right? You're gonna go gambling.
I think we have
So
different views on Vegas, but I'm glad you had a nice time.
I just like the novelty of it, right? Like
Yeah, it's very dystopian.
yes, it is
Yeah.
very dystopian. Like I know Fallout music was playing in my head the whole time, but like
Yeah,
it's still
I'll never
it's still
forget walking
unique.
around with Jamie and Ron and just turning a corner and seeing in neon lights the Palace of the Penis, and I was like, ah, I'm home.
See that? But that right there is like part of the charm. So like
Sure,
yes, and
yeah,
that stuff is like everywhere.
it's everywhere. Yeah, it's a vibe. But yeah. So let's talk about the LVO itself and the games and all that stuff. Obviously, it's a colossal event. You know, over 1,000 people in attendance, which is really really cool.
I
Great to
think
see
we
that
have
many nerds in.
1,100.
Yeah,
1,100,
yeah,
yeah.
it's hella good. Obviously, some of the channel icons like Don Houston and the like. We had a few Patreons as well from the Red Pat there as well. I think Charlie with his was it Vessels with the nine or what was it, the three Wing Prince and Angron builds was
Yep,
hanging
he
around.
he was there.
Yeah,
He got to come say hi to me. Yeah, thanks for everybody for coming to say hi. Like it was awesome getting to see everyone. Don and I were having a blast for as long as we got to see each other. I mean, we were getting pulled. When the event started, like,
yeah,
I
everyone
mean,
gets
they're,
pulled
they're
around.
shoving 10 rounds into 3 days. Like, it's just everybody's getting pulled in every direction. It
Mm,
didn't help that Don and I also got shadow rounded. So,
hmm
which, we'll get into that when we get there. Um, but yeah, it was not, thank you for everybody for coming up to say hi. And it was a big showing for world leaders. Like, there were a lot of world leaders there.
It
Yeah.
sure
And like
was.
Vanguard
Yeah.
Tactics was there. Art of War was there in force. Team England was there in force. And as Wilson stat check guys were there. Like, it was a stacked event too.
hmm hmm Let's get into those games. Let's talk about your run.
Yeah.
Um, we're gonna go through
First,
this. We'll talk about each game. We'll go through the main, the obviously who you were playing against, the main turning points in the game, and maybe some key takeaways and stuff. Obviously, we have 7 games to go through here, so there's quite a bit, but it's definitely going to be good content, especially if you're kind of looking to get some high level advice on how to play world leaders in the current competitive ecosystem. So I'll pass it over to you, Brian. Why don't you take it away?
yeah, so in all nature obviously likes to just mess with me and if I'm having a good time the night before because I went out gambling and actually made a lot of money off of other people at poker tables and nature was like, "Ah, this guy's having a good time. What's the one thing we can do to like make him have not a good time? Let's pair him into 15 wardens for game 1 at LVO," which for anybody unfamiliar with the channel, I am not a fan of playing against custodian wardens because I have been done dirty by them so many times. At this point, I'm just kind of sick of it. And I get paired into Jeremy Salgado. Very nice dude. We bonded a bit during the game. He was just kind of poking his head in. He doesn't play that much competitive 40K, which round one at Super Majors is very common to run into. Just people coming just to see the place and hang out. And that's kind of what I got for a opponent. But you can never put your guard down as a world leader player into Custodes because at any point in time you can just get spiked because Wardens in the entire Custodian range is just like made for killing Marines, and World Leaders aren't the most durable Marines because we're very expensive too. Like every time you lose an 8 pound, that's like, I don't know, losing a finger. Like just what it feels like, and you just only have so many fingers. Um, and the game starts with me just setting up some like this, just the usual World Leader stuff. It was take and hold, so all I had to do was hold 2 objectives and knock them off 2 every game. I set up a heroic intervention trap where I made it so like if he wanted to get back in the game, he'd have to charge 10 jackals with Angron standing right behind them with wardens. And with how charge rules work, if you can base, you have to base. He rolled high on his charge, which meant all the wardens had to base all the jackals. So when Angron heroically intervened, he's only touching like 2 wardens, which is nice because that was started the fight, which baited out the 4 feel no pain, so we just got that out of the way on the Warden squad. And worst case scenario, Angron loses his kneecap and Jackals die, which is like pretty good use of like a bait to get that 4 up out of the
I
way.
mean, if that's all
So
you're losing for the 4 up, like that's cash money times, right?
oh yeah, and off that, the Master of Execution squad comes out and cleans that squad up. Um,
Nice.
Angron cleans that squad up, and then that leads into what then immediately happens is just again, I kind of like rinse and repeat. I charge into multiple other squads, pick them all up at the same time. I remove everything on the board that isn't the wardens. Uh, Game's almost over at that point. Like, I hate to say it that early, but like, I think I took a Rhino, all of his sister scoring pieces, and an entire Warden brick at that point. And he had Terminators up in reserves that were screened out and had nowhere to drop. They had to make a 9-inch charge if they wanted to get in the game, which isn't really reasonable. And the other Warden bricks were out of position. He did end up charging one Warden brick into the Master of Execution squad, the surviving Master of Execution squad that just went on a tear. I think they went after some bikes. Um, so this is a fresh Warden squad, hasn't used its 4 up, feel no pain yet. Charges Mo head on, and he's like, you know what? I know this dude's scary, so I'm gonna pop my 4 up, feel no pain again. And then Mo took that personally, and like he wanted his chunk of flesh. Mo rolls his attacks, 6 attacks, 5 out of the 6 are sustained, so 11 hits. And
What
then
a
I
dude.
roll, and it's 7 6s for devs. And I'm just like, I'm so sorry, buddy. But he still like Custodes me and just makes all the feel no pains, loses 2 dudes. Like after handing him, and I think he failed it. I handed him 24 damage and he only lost 2 wardens. And I was like, sweet, I love this army, man. This just feels great. Like I'm trying to be toxic and you're somehow one-upping me this entire time passively.
Rough.
So 4 feel no pains down on this the next warden brick, which the Exalted Ape I'll just pick up, and then that's the game. You can't play the game with one warden
Yeah,
brick.
100% lock out.
So like the trick for the Custodians matchups and the Wardens is to just be patient and look for ways to bait the feel no pains out without actually committing much.
It's basically just
Um,
outthinking them, right? I mean, like you have to look for situations like that, like the Angron heroic, or like drifting a Rhino in to absorb a bunch of the Wardens, or you know, I find that the Custodes game revolves around like I have seen the jank, I will now implement the jank, and then I probably win because I managed to outthink them.
so
Now, if a Custodes player is like, you know, highly cerebral and they're able to like see that jank as well and kind of play around it, it becomes a lot more annoying, but. I don't know. I feel like it's still kind of our game to lose, right?
yeah, I mean, anytime you're in one of those melee matchups, movement's king, right? Like
Yeah.
whoever has the movement gets to decide the first fight. So yeah, we really if we can like think on our feet, trap them, and then get the first chance to pounce, usually the game's ours to lose. You're 100% right.
Nice. So, big win to open it up.
Yeah, big win to open it up. Hold on, BCP's having a heart attack. Uh, but I win that game about 35 to I think 93, I think
Mm,
was the score.
solid.
Yeah, BCP's having an absolute heart attack right now, so I may not be able to pull up the scores. I mean, this event's 1,100 people. Trying to fit that all in that one tiny little app is a problem. Oh, here we go. All right, yeah.
Alrighty.
So game one's done. Go get a very quick lunch. And my one issue with having 1,000 nerds in one room is that
Hard to find food, right?
hard to find food in a reasonable amount of time. So it's
Yeah,
like
because the Rio, it takes fucking forever to like walk to somewhere
it's
that
a
isn't
maze.
full
Like
of people.
I was actually scared for my life. Like day one at the Rio, all the guys were busy, and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go explore the venue a little bit." And I like took like, oh my God, I felt like I was lost in a maze, like
Hmm.
walking through a grocery store without your mom when you're young. That's what it felt like, like looking down all the different little like avenues and aisles. And I was
Hmm.
like, guys,
Just following a single man with an army case, being like, "Please be going back to the hall."
please be going. Yeah, no, I was.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah, so round two, I get paired into Oscar. C, Chaos Knights player, 13 dogs, 6 brigands, 6 carnivores, and a huntsman in the back. We've seen this a million times,
A
and we've
list that
also,
has changed almost as much as World Eaters over the last whatever year and a half that 10th edition's been out.
I think they gained a dog or something, right?
I
Like,
think they definitely gained a dog or two along the way for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which I like. We had a very, me and that dude had a very good time. He was a chaos enthusiast. Like, he had tattoos up all of his body of every single army and representation. Like, and when he was showing me his rules on his phone, I got to see all of it. Like, he was swiping through his lists, and he's like on the GW app doing this, and he's like
No,
swipe, swipe, swipe,
no.
swipe, 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 and it was just chaos, 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 chaos. So it was just fun,
Oh,
dude. We had a good game. Um, he actually just got done playing it against another World Leader player. I'm
Mm.
sorry, whoever my homie out there was that just got bodied by this dude. But he looked at me and he was just like, "Yeah, I know how to play against World Leaders. This is gonna be great. Like, I'm gonna just kill you. Everything's gonna like trade up into you. You're like, you're gonna run at me, and I'm gonna kill you." And I was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna run at you. I'm still not gonna run at you the next turn. I'm still not gonna run at you the next turn." It turns out that's just good enough to win a game sometimes. When you play World Leaders like some like I don't know, like the least World Leader way possible. He gets turn one. And he doesn't want to. No, I think I get turn one. Sorry, I get turn one, and it says modified FLG on terrain layout one, which is the V's, and the
Mm.
modified FLG just takes the V's and extends them even more.
Oh wow, what? Really? That's amazing.
Oh, and they don't have footprints, so they're like, oh, to make up for not having footprints, we're just gonna expand it longer. And I was just like,
Okay.
and I looked
Seem
at that one V, and I was like, I put all six exalted 8 bound an inch from the wall around the entire inside of the V, with Mo and his Rhino and Angron able to fly over still the 2 inch crate. And I was like, I don't know how you ever get me. And he can't peek that corner ever. I stretched one 10-man Jackal
survive.
squad out to touch. I shoved Spawn into the middle within a heroic, like if he charged it with a carnivore, the Spawn, if he wanted the objective, he would get heroically intervened by six exalted 8 pound. And then Jackals were able to sticky the other side objective also without having an angle put on them. So I was like, I own three objectives. You can't do anything about it. Pass turn. And he's like, yeah, that sucks. I can't do anything about it. I lose the game if I just go after you and you heroic intervene. Or you sticky, like even worse if you sticky with the spawn on death. And I was like, yeah, that sucks. And he was like, all right, I'm just gonna creep everything up further so we can just do it again. And I was like, okay. He's like, all right, everything's up. He's like, he wanted to bait me into charging him
Mm.
because he pushed everything up just a little bit more. And we go to my turn, and I was like, I like audibly was like, I can see that you've baited me into charging you. I raise you past turn. Because I think I drew like secure
Uh,
and extend, and I was just like, I actually didn't move a single model. I was just
nice.
like, I was like, all right, go ahead, your turn. I scored my 10 or my 25 points. Go. So I'm like, it's like 50 to 10 right now. And then he's like, oh shit, I gotta go. So then he goes, bad trading ensues. Anger on 2 for 1s, 2 knights. Mo goes and one shots a knight in one turn. The Exalted 8 bound go and one shot a knight. And I think I took 6 or 7 war dogs. And just to like rub salt in the wound, I drew Bring It Down that turn too. I was just
Oh,
like, oh, I
solid.
was like, ah, the
Yeah.
14 pointer,
The
like Bring It Down or
legendary
12 pointer.
maximum bring it down points.
So that's
Things we
pretty
love
much
to
how the
see.
game went. Because after that, he was fighting in his deployment zone against
Mm.
the entire army. I had him screened out, like he couldn't come in anywhere. Final score 96 to 22.
I
Very
mean,
nice fella.
like Chaos Knights, especially in the Dog Walker list, it's fairly standard. You either choose not to kill any knights in a turn, or you choose to kill like 4 or 5 plus war dogs. You either do one or the other. You don't half-ass it and be like, I'm gonna kill like 2 war dogs, because that's not gonna get
Correct.
you anything.
They are probably the best army in the game for playing that stupid little trading game of like
Oh yeah,
this and this and
100%.
this and this. You
Mm-hmm.
never want to get sending out one squad at a time.
Mm-hmm. Because you will just
Um,
lose that trade.
Battle for the
Um,
Capital, we have it on the Discord and our stream logs. There's a game of me playing against the exact same lists. Go
mm-hmm.
check that out, guys. Like it's all the same stuff.
Alrighty. Another comfortable win, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, still a good dude. See, that's the thing with World though, is those first couple turns really do matter. A lot of big decisions are made by both players, so although it may seem like a very convincing win, like in order to set up that go turn where you do go and kill 6 or 7 dogs, like a lot goes into that, for both players.
Yeah,
So yeah, but still solidly a massive win.
nice.
Uh, Game three, I get paired into Neil O'Kane, from Canada, actually Irish. Um,
The worst. Jesus, those people.
I
Irish and
know.
Canadian? Fucking hell.
I know.
Imagine if
It's
me
like,
and Ryan had a child. Like, it's not gonna be good.
I'd be good at 40K though.
Only like 50% of the gene pool there is gonna be good at 40k.
Would that mean only 50% of the army looks good and painted
That's
well too?
true. Yeah, that's very true.
Oh, that's
But
a bad
anyway,
combo.
this isn't about me and Ryan's love life. This is about you.
So, get paired into Death Guard. Um,
Not a
it's not a
not a
like
nice matchup, I would say.
for my take on Death Guard getting paired into it. It's like I used to play I play like the Total War franchise a lot as a kid
Hmm.
and like Medieval 2 Total War and like you'd be playing as like I don't know the Eastern Romans and then this pop-up would come up and say oh no the Mongols are here and they'd give you a quote. I'm sorry I'm going on like this really weird tangent. Be like oh no the Mongols are here and there's like this line that says like like everybody gets comfortable with the enemy they know, but then they like the enemy they don't know is the one that they should fear. Is like that, like that's how that
That's how
feels with like
Deckard
Death Guard
is.
is
Yeah.
like is
It's
like
always
that's
just
the
like,
enemy I
man,
know. I was
I haven't
like,
played this for like, you know, three practice games too little, where you're kind of just like, I thought I had this worked out, but now that I'm here, I don't really think I have this worked out anymore.
well, no, it's just like I'd rather play against Death Guard than I would against Bridgehead, right? Like
Oh, yeah,
I
of course. Of
like,
course.
that's what I'm saying with this is like it's a Death Guard's not a good matchup for us. It's the
Mm.
enemy that I know. The enemy that I don't know is all these bridgehead players out there that I haven't gotten a chance to get a rep into. You know, like the Josh Roberts Ultramarine die on sight, like Vindicator Hell list.
I think
I
for
don't
me
want to
it's like
play
the
against.
opposite, right? Because I'm like, whenever there's like something fucking awful like that in the meta, like there is now, I like hard focus on it. Like I've grinded Star Shatter more in the
Oh,
past like month than I've seen Necron players in the entire year last year. But then I'm
I
like, Deckard, I have it solved, and
I
I
don't
just
also
ignore it.
don't know how like a quarter of the room was Necrons and I dodged them all. Like, ugh.
It happens. It happens.
So,
Anyway,
game goes. He picks -1 to hit, which
that's
as a
not the
world leader
one,
player you
right?
should be happy. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
I'm scared of six dash rod Terminators overwatching Exalted 8 bound with AP.
Mm.
That is where you get scared because they can spike hard, you spike down low, and you lose like 4 Exalted 8 bound on a charge versus losing one of no AP. Game was over. We called it top of two.
Sheesh.
We called game top of two.
Sheesh.
He got first turn. He pushed out fairly aggressively into the middle of the board. Not like super aggressively, but he didn't watch, I mean, watch my Brian's top three combat tricks video because I slingshotted the shit out of this dude.
Uh,
Um,
time for the seamless plug.
yeah, and he
If you wanna perform at a high level, if you want to be John World Leader of 2025, check out Brian's top three combat tricks. Number two will amaze you.
number three you've never seen before. Number one's clickbait.
Dear, oh dear.
So yeah, he put six Death Shroud Terminators kind of like propped up in the middle of the board to screen most of his army. And if they're -1 to hit, because I made it very clear that I was going to go out and kill the Nurglings as fast as possible. He pushes out so he has no Nurglings left on the board. I just went out and killed him. Um, like this is my top of turn two. So I think, oh, sorry, let me back up. I went first. I went out and just sent Invocatus on a death mission to go kill Nurglings, and he just died because he was the only thing that could reach them and pick them out. Because I don't want to be -2 to hit. I can handle being -1 to hit.
Mm,
Um, then he responds with his turn one by pushing a string of cultists up with Mortarion behind it, and then six Death Shroud Terminators to complete the screen, with the sorcerer standing behind them, and then pass his turn to me. Well, he left a gap between the Death Shroud Terminators and the cultists to where I could charge through the gap, get behind him with Mo, and now Mo is in a position to go punch Mortarion. Angron
oh.
was also in a position where he could charge the cultists, pile through, and touch Mortarion. So I set up a turn where I could get 8 bound rerolls, Angron, and the Mo squad, most of the Mo squad, including Mo, into Mortarion. 5 Berserkers came out, which are clutch at killing specifically 10 models, because sometimes even 8 bound can whiff on killing 10 cultists just from number of attacks. It's not common, but it can happen. The 5 Berserkers come out, pick up the 10 cultists. Angron goes into Mortarion, hands Mortarion 7 saves. The dude makes 6 out of 7 saves, and I'm just like, shit, that's not good. And then he takes like 4 damage, and he's like, "Oh, that was good." And then Mo's like, "Screw you, Dad. This is how it's done." And then like posts up, and then fucking gets 10 hits, with the sustained, and then comes through, and I can think converts like 7 of those into dev.
Nice. Hot. Love it.
And then Mo just like face hugger tackles Mortarion straight into the ground,
Nice.
which the
Uh,
Berserkers I think had to activate to finish him off.
mm.
But I mean, the math, he was like, wow, you spiked hard with Mo. And I was like, you made 6 out of 7 4-ofs. I don't want to hear it. Like it
Yeah.
evened out. I was like, the math evened out. It was an average interaction, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, on the other side, into the Death Shroud Terminators, I was like, You know what? Funny, man. You try to debuff me with -1 to wound, -1 damage, -1 to hit. I raise you 6 Exalted 8 bound, just bashing their head into you as hard as they can. Which, on math, sweeping with Exalted 8 bound. So hitting on threes now with sustained hits, which is bringing that back to like
Back to twos,
twos
functionally, yeah.
with rerolls is full hit conversion. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
sweet. 8 bounder nearby for the reroll ones, and we have Angron with the hit rerolls. Like, I'm just gonna hand you 40 saves, and you're gonna fail enough, and that kills 5.6 Death Shroud Terminators on average. The math definitely surprised my opponent. That is like the one thing you can catch Death Guard players off guard with, is I think a lot of the times they can be overconfident walking into the matchup. They're like, oh, -1 to hit. They're gonna flop. All that means is you castle around Angron and you just like wolf pack their army slowly and you table them by turn two. And he saw the writing on the wall. We go into his turn. He gets out with his Plague Marines. He charges. Mo is set up to heroically intervene. Mo heroic intervenes. And the game, we just call the game right there. He's just like, I'm done. I'm done playing. He's lost 6 of his Death Shroud. He's lost his Demon Primarch. He lost all his fights for his Plague Marines. And I'm down to 8-pound models. So
Mm,
um, World Leaders are probably the best army in the game when it comes to punishing movement mistakes. So learning how to capitalize on that is definitely something I would focus on, especially into those hard melee matchups. That is how you absolutely get the edge over your opponent in that Custodes and that Death Guard, is knowing those tiny little mistakes and knowing how to exploit them into a full just breakthrough. Sweet dude, nice guy. We got to bond a bit. Um, that wraps up day one.
nice.
Um, which was nice because that meant I got to head back and go gambling again pretty early.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think it came as not really a surprise to any of us that you were 3-0 on day one.
You say that.
The real scare starts on day two, though, right? Because you're kind of starting to float
Yeah,
into anything can happen in this kind of pit now.
you say that, but like there are so many sharks at this event. Like I
Yeah.
think this was one of the most stacked LVOs we've ever had because we had like 5 people racing for the top ITC crown period.
Mm.
Like we had Nas, Josh Roberts was up there,
But
Ennis was of course
I
like
would
fighting
say,
for it.
like, if you take it into account, right? Say there's like 100 sharks at the LVO, which like very well could be. It's like 100 and 1,000. Like your average GT has maybe what 50 players. There's gonna be like 10 sharks, maybe. It's like
In
one
my
in
local, yeah.
five, basically.
Well, yeah,
It's
but I mean like
different,
the
you know.
like a table just a little bit away, like Nas and Nemo paired, which is the two. I was like the
Yeah, I
Godzilla meme
saw
of like
that.
let them fight because I was
Yeah.
just like I'm guaranteed one less bridgehead in this world.
Yeah, there was some spicy
Uh,
matchups
and
in
then
day
like
one.
Folger and Josh Roberts paired day one.
Mm,
It's like there were definitely like collisions happening,
yeah.
and I got fortunately I'm dodging the mo like the real big monsters up until this point. So we go into game one of day four or day four, game four of day two. None of those numbers were
Yes.
correct. Um, I get paired again because the gods think it's funny into another custody player who has even more wardens.
Good. I like that.
Um, had a good time with this dude. He legitimately said that he'd never played against worldies before. You'd be surprised how many times I heard that at this event. Never played against world leaders before. Um, but he was playing the right list to play against world leaders. He was playing
Mhm.
triple wardens, triple custodian guard bricks, and I was just like, this is. I love you, dude. You were a great dude to play against. But wow, that was a list. He was just like, I think his list was like, here's a five, like crit fives, here's a five, there's a five, here's a five, there's a five. Like that was the name of his list. Um, if I could go, I'm just tired of triple wards. I just am. I can't. I'm not even gonna stay on this too much longer. And I hated them so much that when I got top of turn two into this list, I killed everything. I was like allergic to the wardens. I killed literally everything on the table that wasn't a warden in one turn. Um, he
Oh
didn't watch
dear.
his he didn't watch his slingshot, and I managed to be able to slingshot Mo off of some sisters into one custodian guard brick. I also managed to. He had a rhino set up, screening Angron's base from being able to fly over the rhino to get to his home objective, which is very smart. Like a lot of people will screen where your base can fit, not where you can get to and charge, and it forces you back even further. But what he didn't do is make sure the custodian guard brick behind the rhino was 4 inches away from where Angron's base would be now be sitting. Same thing with the Exalted 8-bound within also just ripped around the corner too. So I put Angron and 6 Exalted 8-bound into a poor rhino, which is just like kind of malicious. Angron pops the rhino. six exalted eight bound charge into the Draxia brick, the Draxia plus custodian guard on his home objective turn two. I went from my deployment zone to his deployment zone objective on turn two. Six exalted eight bound touches Draxia brick. They're not wardens, so they just melt to six exalted with full rerolls to hit, wounding on threes. Rhino's gone. Sister squads get picked up by like ensuing pylons. The worst part is he couldn't interrupt anywhere too because I didn't actually
Ooh,
charge any of the
that's a bit
custodian guard bricks. I
that's a bit
charged the
rough.
things next to the bricks to then
And then
pile
just
into the
pile
guard
into
bricks.
them. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So he lost Rhino, two sister squads, custodian bikes, two guard squads, like 10 custodian guard, and Draxia all in one turn. And I was like, you have three warden bricks left on the board, go.
What now? What now?
And I was
Hot.
like, okay, the only way I lose this game is by interacting with the bricks. So I then take what's left of my army after he cracks back, which he cracks back hard. He kills the six exalted and some like token eight bound that went into like be reroll support. And I'm like, all right, sweet. Turn around and run away.
Yeah,
And I was like,
time to go.
it's cat and mouse. I was like, you have three units left. You can't do all of the secondaries and all the primaries at the same time. Honestly, it was kind of lame for me to do, but it was like a guaranteed win if I just ran away. So the
Yeah.
rest of the
I
game
mean,
was
you've got the speed. It's what you got to do in those kind of situations, right?
I had 10 units left on the board. He had three. So I was like, I don't care. Like, you can't secret mission me. I can out secondary you. I can out OC you if you try to step on an objective. I think later on I did have to blow up one Warden squad with the rest of my army, but Mo plus Angron is enough to blow up one Warden squad by weight
Yeah.
of dice. So that was just how the game went. The score actually ended up being closer than it needed to be, but that's because like the mental math was like, I have a 20-point lead you're never going to make up. So I'm going to take the guaranteed win of a 20-point lead. So and it ended up being 93-76. Sweet dude. Yeah, it was asking for pointers the whole game. Um,
Nice.
um,
It's kind of what you want, though. You know?
yeah, and he's like, yeah, I know the writing's on the wall of like what you're doing to me right now. He's like, just like, tell me what I was doing wrong. What's the best like? And I'm
Mm,
like, well, but Parker Courtley, awesome dude. We had a blast. Really fun game.
nice. So round five was a game that featured. It was round five, right?
Yep, round five on stream. Yep,
Featured on Tabletop Live. Probably our favorite group of streamers, just because they love having you and Ryan on. And honestly, I just love the guys. Like me and Anthony are always just like hanging out and chat. Like basically, I don't know if you've seen me and Anthony talk a lot of shit about you when you're playing. Obviously, we don't do it for Ryan, because Ryan's a good player.
he's the favorite
Yeah,
child.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
But no, it's great. Like I love the Tabletop Live guys. They always put on a phenomenal show, and you always seem to drift onto their stream somehow, right?
I mean, okay, to be honest, at this point, like John and Anthony are some of the nicest people like I've ever met. They always know how to stay positive even when stuff's going negative. Like it's hard, especially because like I mean, I guess we'll rip this Band-Aid off. This LVO was filled with probably more controversies than most major. I
Non-controversies.
think probably the most controversies out of any major event this year. There was
Well,
a
I mean,
lot of
there
on
hasn't been a
stream.
major event yet in 2025
Well,
other
okay, you
than the
know, the
LVO.
ITC season. You know what I meant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, there was a lot of cheating on stream. There was a lot of just whack explosions on stream. Um, the hall had some like drama. It was a very drama-filled LVO. But what LVO it doesn't have drama? And I felt bad for them because they had a lot of drama actually come their way on their streams. They resolved it in good ways and they stayed positive about it. And
Hmm.
I can't recommend their streams enough, guys. Like they offer just enough commentary to like still be constructive, but not enough to be overbearing.
Mm.
Like it's just kind of like minimalist, but also when they do mention stuff, like it is like actually like good
And
commentary.
the vibe in their chat is really good. I
Yes,
always really enjoy hanging out because it's a nice mix of people who like want to learn more and then people who are well informed. So there's always like a really nice kind of helping community in there. And like I don't know, I just get the impression that people don't like jump on each other as much as they do in maybe other streams. It's like it's a little bit more kind of chilled out and everyone's kind of having a good time. But you were on stream against a member of Vanguard Tactics, who are also a group that we absolutely love. I do the Chaos Pantheon with Aiden from Disgusting and Resilient, who's Vanguard Tactics. And we've met a bunch of the guys, like we've actually played a bunch of the guys on this
I
side of the pond and across. And honestly, I gotta say it, man, I think I don't know if there's another content group that are focused on like high level competitive play that I would put ahead of Vanguard in terms of like groups of people that I like and have had enjoyable experiences
Yeah,
against.
I absolutely 100% agree with that. I mean, most of the Vanguard guys were there cheering Kobe on from behind me. And I mean, I was having a blast bantering with them too. Like as soon as I got to the table, Kobe and I like looked at each other and we were like, I think like this is going to be a good game. I think we're on the same like wavelength in terms
Hmm.
of just like personality, where it's like, hey, I'll scratch your back, you scratch my back. We know we're both competitive players. We know we're both going to hold each other to a standard, but we both know how to uh, behave on stream and be actual good human beings, which so far at this LVO is a bit of a bar.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a bar.
The bar was
But
low, but it was there.
so you gotta like walk up to a table, be like, "Are we chill?" And it's very rare they're like, "You actually like, yeah, we're chill," and
Mm,
like being competitive at the same time. Like that's just match for heaven. Like Kobe
mm.
was awesome. The Vanguard guys are great. I agree 100% with Dara. They have some of the best like broad 40K competitive content out there. Their vibes are chill. They're very grounded. They keep it realistic. I love you, Kobe. That was a great game. And all the Vanguard guys behind me that were rooting for both of us. Like they were
Yeah.
cheering for both of us. It was fun.
Man, by the end of it,
So
to be honest, I didn't know who I was going for because Kobe was such a like nice dude. I've never met him personally, but like it was, like I said it to like so many people after watching that game. I was like, if every high level game of 40K was played to this level of sportsmanship, I would be in love with the top level of the competitive scene because that was exactly how high level 40K should be played. There was like no egregious takebacks, but everyone was willing to give each other something if it needed to happen. Everything was really clear. The intent was very well spoken. There was no drama at the table. Everyone was like
yeah,
super on board with everything that was
and
happening. And it was just perfect. Like it's what you want to see at that level.
and I also want to like clarify for like a few people like before like there's a difference between being like correct and being like a dick when it comes to like asking questions and judge calls and clarifications, right? Competitive players, when they're talking really quick to each other, they can be like, "Hey, is that six? Is that actually 6 inches away? Hey, I think
That
I
was my
may
favorite
have line
part
of
of the
sight for
game, where it
Overwatch."
was like, "Ooh, that's a long six." Everyone in chat loved that.
Yeah, and it was a long six, and
It was a long six.
it was like 6.01, and I was like,
Yeah.
homie, I can tap in another point oh 0.01 if you really need me to. And he was like, nah, you're fine. Like,
Mm.
that's the kind of stuff that you should be give and taking. Hey, did you know I can actually overwatch you just by this angle just a little bit more? And I was like, yeah, that's versus like, I mean, like, hey, I know you said you're trying to screen, but you left a little pocket. Like, we were working together. That's what you want to help each other on stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, like, when we're judge calling each other, it's not because I'm trying to one up him. It's more like, hey, let's prevent a feels bad from ensuing, right? So don't be
Mm.
afraid to call the judges. Um, both players understand why it's happening. It's not, you want to be correct. There's a difference between being correct and being a dick. And I guess the game kind of starts off with the judge call. Um,
The
he gets
cattle
turn
prod.
one, the cattle
The
prod.
cattle prod.
He gets turn one. He pushes up, not aggressively, but enough to just initiate the game. He
Mm.
made it so that I had to come out. He started a ritual. He set up a very safe ritual that was going to be very hard for me to take from him. I actually didn't think I was going to take it in my turn, but it just kind of ended up happening when I started going with the flow. And I'm very comfortable with GW. There's one thing I'm comfortable with at this point. It's deploying on GW layouts, and that layout's not a great one for world leaders, especially into a shooting lane army. And he like before game two, he's like, "Hey, this looks kind of bad for you." And I was like, "Nah, don't worry, I got it. Turn one, you're not shooting me turn one." So I set myself up in a way that he could not shoot me at all turn one, and the only that only works once. He just pushes up the sides just a couple more inches than all of those angles that I'm hiding behind, which are close cut angles, are no longer safe. So on that terrain layout, it is you get one turn of safety and then you push. There is no in between. Especially on Ritual as world leaders, which is actually one of our stronger missions, because into an army like Monster Mash Nids, you have to action to make objectives. You can't just park your ass on an objective and say, this is mine now. Like, you have to go do something. So I want his action economy making objectives every turn with something that matters. So I was looking into my turn one and I was like, I need to knock him off of primary and kill all of his cheap shit. Those are my two goals. And then if I could start an early Angron trade that kills a big bug, and then Angron's going to die. Angron is dead. Turn the next turn, no matter what I do. I accepted that. That's just how it goes. Even if he doesn't come back, that is just half that has to happen in the matchup because I need him to spend 4 or 5 activations killing Angron. I need him not making another objective. I need him boxed in his deployment zone so I can make multiple objectives, and I'm just going to win the game on points. You're not out trading that army, so you just have to disrespect the shit out of Nids because their damage output sucks into Marines. It's very swingy. He has two Tyrannifexes. They're either going to hit and kill me or they're going to miss, and he whiffs his whole turn and I win on the spot. So that's just the play that had to be made. Angron rockets down the board with an auto six, and at this point, that's when the first judge call happens, which is a fair one. Angron actually couldn't make it into base-to-base contact with like any of his models because the Tyrannifex had like his funny little gun, like pushing him back down a small hallway. So we were like, well, if Angron can't make it to base contact, can he even charge? And I was like, this seems a little fucked up if you can just like build a wall of Tyrannifex guns down a
Mm.
hallway and I like, oh, I can't get you. Like, oh, you got me. Like, so judge came over, ruled that I can get in there, which I assumed was the case. And it was both a weird one. But Angron immediately is touching a Maliceptor and a Tyrannifex. And I wanted to base the Tyrannifex, not base the Maliceptor, but stay in combat. So when I killed the Tyrannifex, pile through and touch an Exocrine. My goal was to touch all three Exocrines this turn, so they couldn't shoot at their feet, which for the most part, they were tied up the entire game. Other side of the board, I'm like, okay, I'm only gonna commit these Exalted 8-bound if I roll hot on the advance roll. Proceeds to roll hot on the advance roll. I was like, fuck, I didn't want to have to do that. Now I have to like actually like play a game. So the Exalted 8-bound rocket down the board. He overwatches. I get a little lucky with the Feel No Pains. I only needed like four Exalted 8-bound to live, so I was like, if the Overwatch happens, it happens. No Exalted died. I was like, okay, let's get some rerolls down there too, some reroll support, 8-bound run down there. Because at this point, like I said, my plan was to kill all the trash. Pay very close attention to that, guys. Lictors have fights first. I knew what I was doing. You can pile into fights first with your activation to kill them, and that's what I did. I picked up all the Pyrovores, both Lictors. I tried to pick up two big monsters if I scammed them before the game even started. Tagged all the Exocrines, and I'm feeling great. Get to Angron, he swings, does completely average on his swings, does completely average on his wounds. I hand him enough to just send him to the Shadow Realm. He spikes his save rolls, which I was like, shit, that's not good. Like that Tyrannifex is 100% dead to math, like a majority of the time. But dice spikes happen. He got a little lucky. Angron proceeds to then sit there and stare at all those bugs. Go over to his turn. His crackbacks happen, which actually, like, he barely kills Angron. Like he does it in the shooting phase. He doesn't do it in the shooting phase. We go to the fight phase, and I think he does it by like one die. Like it's up to the Maliceptor. Three hits, like two wounds, fail one. I don't have the CP or something. I don't remember the specifics. You can go watch the stream. Angron goes down, and at this point, I'm just tied up into all of his stuff. We go into my turn, and I'm like, all right, here's my new game plan. Since I was kind of setting this up since the early Angron trade, strength of the RB2K is we have four icons. Now, if you have four icons for rerolls, that is a 40% chance you're getting Angron back on the dice. It's very high. And I set the turn up to be able to do it twice. So anybody saying that I got lucky getting Angron back, a 40% chance twice is definitely more than half the
Pretty
time.
likely. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fairly likely. And I was like, this game is just going to get slammed down like an easy win. If Angron comes back, it's not an easy win, even with Angron coming back. And I'm going to get a chance to fish for Angron two, maybe three times on four dice rerolls. A 40% chance two, three times. He's coming back. Like I'm just telling myself in my head, I have to manifest this. Jackals go out, and they're the ones that do it. Little champs kill off a wounded Pyrovore. Angron stands back up, best feeling in the world. All of his big bugs are really tied up, and the game just kind of stays like that for the rest of it. It's
You
just
you kind
him.
of jailed him, I think, in that game.
Yeah, and
You had a tough time pushing it.
I don't think I needed Angron for the win. He definitely helped seal it. It
Mm.
probably would have been a close loss or a close win without Angron.
Mm.
Definitely wasn't the reason why the win just like took off the way it was. But make sure you're being smart with your icons. Like I had a really tough decision at one point there when I was charging the Pyrovore. It was like, do I maintain the screen or do I need the extra reroll for
Oh
Angron?
man, we were all laughing at you in chat when you were trying to pull that off. It was like, my man is out here trying to like maximize the amount of units he gets into this Pyrovore while shitting on an objective and also still screening out. I'm like, Brian is like, I want the whole cake right here. And I was
I
like, there's
almost
no
I
way this
almost
man is pulling this off.
I almost got the cake.
No,
Like
you didn't.
I
You
was
did
off by like a
not get
half
it.
inch.
No, it was just like, it was never
Okay,
happening.
I tried. I tried. But the Angron revive was hype as fuck because I
Yeah, it
rolled
was
the
good.
8 dice the first time, didn't happen, like didn't get remotely close, not a single
Mm.
six on the 12, and I was like, fuck, that's fine. We're just banking them all for the next roll. And then I roll the next one, and I was like, there's zero sixes in this tray. What the fuck's going on? And then I like pick up 3 dice and I roll them because you can't roll them one at a time as long as
Yeah,
they're separate dice. I pick up 3 dice, roll them, 2 6s, and one flies across the room, and it landed on a 6 in front of him.
nice.
But I have a personal rule of if it falls out of the tray, even if it like that pains me, I'm like, yeah, I didn't even tell him if it falls out of the tray, I'll reroll. I'm just like, I'm a man of honor. Give me that back. And I just nattied the 6 again. So it was four
Nice.
sixes in a row, and I didn't even have to use the fourth reroll.
Lovely.
Um, Angron
Beautiful.
stands back up. Great. Karma is good. Um, Game goes from there, and it's just kind of all of like a shit ton of existing combats where 8 bound eventually chewed their way through. Like you charge an Exograin into an 8 bound sergeant. That's like I don't really know who wins that fight, but apparently the 3 damage sergeant slowly wins that fight. Um,
I mean, it's a great game to watch. They pick up a lot of niche combat tricks, and you know, um, if you are looking for a game to study to improve your micromanagement of world eaters, I think that's a great one. It's like the macro is fine, it's just like, cool, we're doing this thing. But the micro is like so much niche interactions which come up that maximize your likelihood of like getting Angron back, that maximize your combat output, your movements, all the jank, it's all there. So we'll link it down below. Go check out Tabletop Live. Great guys. And yeah, wonderful win for game five on stream in front of everyone. And we were all very, very hyped. I stayed up until like, I don't know, half 12 watching it because I was just like, I can't go to bed when my boy is this close to winning. So
I
yeah,
mean,
it was
um,
great.
like I said, Kobe, that was an awesome game, man.
Mm.
Like, it was never callable until five, right?
I will say this
Really at the
now,
end of five.
specifically to Aiden from Disgustingly Resilience. Red Path 1, Vanguard Tactics nil. Oh, that's not true. I lost to Mike Costello. Red Path 1, Vanguard Tactics 1. And I think Jay Jack might have lost like twice. So we might actually be down quite a bit now that I think about it. But we're making it back. Anyway,
All
we'll
right.
move on. Round six, getting to officially the final round for the vast majority of players, right?
Yes.
But you're pretty
Um,
confident at this point that you're gonna make this shadow round if you win this game, correct?
you guarantee make the shadow round if you win round six.
Gotcha.
Um, Shadow round because they cut to top 16 with a few drops. There's gonna be like when you get, I guess I'll get there when I get there because they did have
Yeah.
some like cool stuff that happened for somebody that absolutely deserved it. So we'll get there when we get there. Donald Plummer is the name of the person I pair into for round six. Awesome dude. Like super nice. We both walk again. It is so nice to walk up to a table with another high level competitive player and be like, we both understand what's going on here. We're not going to take advantage of each other. We both are going to help each other. We're both going to have a good game. And he pulled a clock out, and I mean, I guess this is where it all started. I told him, man, I've never gone to time. We don't need a clock. If you don't want a clock, I don't want to put that pressure on you. Personally, I have never, I haven't felt right putting a clock on somebody because I don't like the added pressure of influencing decisions. And that's just a personal take. That doesn't mean it's the correct take. That is a take that I choose as a player to have going into a lot of my major events. That I don't like my opponent beating themselves. I like to beat my opponent. And I feel like a clock can hurt my opponent's ability to actually like not and psych themselves out. So I tend to like as long as I trust the other player, I'm gonna be like, we don't need this. And he was like, no, no, I'm playing the new Tau detachment auxiliary
Auxiliary
cadre,
support or whatever. Yeah, yeah.
which is a very model intensive detachment, has a shit ton of recruit. And he's like, I'm going to do this to keep myself honest. And I was like, all the power to you, man. I was like, let's go. I even told him if you clock out on time and we still have a shit ton of time left on me, I'll give it to you. Like I don't like timing people out unless they're like really deserving it. And I really didn't get that much time. But going into this game, it's Terraform. He gets turn one and he pushes up with screens of Groot and starts terraforming 2 objectives. And I'm like, shit, like, what do I do? I can't go anywhere. He actually had one objective he was terraforming. I couldn't touch turn one. I don't know why you can't scorched earth turn one, but you can terraform turn one.
Terraform turn one is wild. It's
That's
actually
way
insane.
worse than
Yeah.
scorched turn one. Like,
Yeah.
what is this? I'm just sitting there like, this is unbelievable. Like, he just set up like the perfect, and it was like, it was like a bell ringing in my head the whole time, like a really loud bell ringing in my head the whole time. He messed his screens up when he was trying to keep me from getting to his objective he was terraforming. And it was like the first two moves he did. He went like, "Oh, I'm gonna move this here and move this here," and left a nice little hole for me to like go through. And I was like, "Sweet, I can stop him from terraforming." And then we go to the end of his turn. He was like, "Oh, I forgot to plug that hole." And I was like, "Oh." Like his whole turn, like maybe 30 minutes, like the bell was like, "Kill, kill, 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 kill." And then he closed it, and my brain was just like all the serotonin just like stopped and went right back.
The crash.
And I was like, damn it, now he figured it out.
Oh
Which I mean,
dear. Yeah.
what he wasn't expecting was Angron to backflip across the entire table, like literally like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
some comedy kung fu, just like.
Mm.
So he's terraforming the middle. He's terraforming side objective. I can't get to the side objective, but he did leave me an opening to. He put a on the middle objective. Vespids terraforming the back of the middle objective, and he gave them +1 OC, so they're OC 10. And he put Crute Hounds in the front to screen me from getting to them. But there was a 7-inch gap. So Angron fits exactly between a 7-inch gap between the Crute Hounds and the Vespids. And he's like, oh shit. And then I was like, okay, sweet. Now that we have Angron between two units that don't even add up to 100 points, like, am I really gonna like kill Vespids with Angron to stop a Terraform turn one? No. So Rhino whips out around the corner with all the boys and their Glocks,
No.
and we shoot the dog. We put the
The
dogs
forbidden
down.
firing deck.
The forbidden firing down. We put the dogs down with some plasma pistols at the top. Uh, Invocatus was standing in front of the dogs, ready to go. Rip. First, we have to roll Angron's charge. I pick +1 charge.
Mm.
Roll the natty 6, which is nice because that was the exact roll into the 7 that I needed to have Angron do a backflip over the Vespids and anime behind them, like show up like it was nothing personal, kid. And then Invocatus comes in from the front into the Vespids, needed the 6. I had to roll him first, I think, actually, because I needed the +1 charge aura. He also natties the 6. I think I had to burn a CP in there, so I have no CP. Invocatus comes, kung fu's the Vespids. The Vespids are dead. Now Angron's able to pile 4 inches back further into, or 3 inches, one with engagement range, into some broadsides
Oh,
that
sweet.
weren't
That's
expecting it.
nice.
So I
Yeah.
took the middle objective from him, and Angron backflipped across like literally went from my objective, home objective, to his home objective.
Hell yeah.
Killed some broadsides that he wasn't expecting. His list only had one Sky Wraith left for anti-tank, and I was just like, I hope you kill Angron, because if you don't, you're gonna have problems. He one-tapped Angron pretty quickly. Spoiler
Yeah.
alert.
Yeah.
But I was really impressed I pulled that off. If I failed that 6-inch charge with Angron backflipping, he's killing Vespids in passing turn and eating
Doesn't
some
feel
railguns.
amazing, right?
No,
No, it's not
I
the
don't feel
best.
too good, Mr. Stark. And that kind of caught him off guard, honestly,
Mm.
which is then goes into the next part of now he's trying to make sure he doesn't fall for that again. There's a lot of kung fu that I'm pulling off. Like it really is like the small little micromanaging, like seeing these small little openings and what you can actually do. Like, oh no, they screened me. What if I fly over the screen and pile into other things? If I shoot the screen and to make rooms so the other screen can die, right? So the rest of the game, we both keep drawing really hot on secondaries. Like the scores are high, but that one little terraform just going tick, 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 tick is slowly giving him a lead. So I was able to take his home primary from him turn one with Angron, which is kind of cursed, but it happened. Um, we go back and forth. Game's uncallable, really. And I finally get into a position where I haven't really committed anything other than Angron. And I'm like, sweet, let's go. And Angron actually, I think, revives too. I set up another 4 icon, reroll into reroll into reroll. I had three chances that time, but I got it on the first. Um, the Exalted 8 bound plus Angron plus the regular 8 bound, all of my 8 bound were still in reserves. I was just throwing my trash out to clear screens. They all come crashing in. The Exalted 8 bound fail a 2-inch charge with no CP into two hammerheads to close the game out. It's literally a 2-inch charge. Snake Eyes screwed me. Um, Mo does his job, cleans something up, um, and then immediately gets overwatched and dies point blank to a very mad Hammerhead that only rolled sixes to hit, like literally only sixes to hit on the Overwatch. Um,
Imagine getting overwatched by a hammerhead. Like, what a beast.
yeah, game's not. Oh, it was the he was running the three. This guy was crazy. He was running the 3 damage Hammerhead top. He wasn't running the
Oh,
rail.
the ion cannon?
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
really good in this
yeah.
detachment because they're AP 4.
Mm.
This detachment gives bonus AP if you're close to crew. Um, so then we go to so the game's like solidly his at the moment. Like I'd say 70% chance he wins, 30% chance I do. I still have a line, and then we hear the little beep beep. We look over, he's clocked out. Um, I had like 30 minutes left. He was out of time. And I was like, hey man, I know there's like a high probability you still win this game. Think I still have solid out. Like if those six Exalted 8-bound are able to tank a little bit and you fail to kill Angron because he didn't have any anti-tank, he only had the two hammerheads. And I let him play like 10 minutes more of my time. It became evident that he wasn't going to kill all the Exalted 8-bound. And he's like, you know what? I told you at the beginning I was going to honor the clock. I'll honor the clock now, even though you gave me the time. And he's like, let's just call it. You get the win. He just stood still, and I scored up to, and I told him we didn't have to at all. Like I was not going to enforce it because we had 30 minutes left in the round. The game wasn't going to take 30 minutes. But I ended up probably getting the win anyways. I had a secret mission command insertion with Angron on the home to make up for that ticking primary lead that he had. I know cursed, and the secondaries just kind of killed
I
him.
get so angry when you tell me that you do that, but fair enough.
I didn't do it off. Oh, actually, it was a revive Angron into a secret mission.
Can we move on to the next game?
Can we? All right, so we're 6-0.
We're 6-0.
Um,
The Shadow Round calls.
Shadow round calls, and this was kind of a panic shadow round because a lot of people had to drop to go home. A lot of my
Mm.
friends did that were actually up there, so they were moving down the X and one or XO and one bracket really quickly. And Don was one of those like 17th or 18th place players, and I was like on my phone, vicious like Don, get in here, Don, get in here, Don, get in here, and somebody finally got him and got him in there. So Don Huson is a very active member of our community, one of the best Death Guard players I know, honestly. Go watch him. He's on stream several times during the event.
One of the
I think
greatest human beings of all time, to
he
be
is
honest.
genuinely one of like the nicest people ever. So
Yeah.
go check him out. At this point, I'm happy going to the top 16 because there's no bridgeheads. They're all dead. Ding dong, like the witch is dead, right? Like they're gone. Like my entire top 16 bracket is yellow to green matchups. I feel very confident I can take this all the way. Um, World leaders have play into Ultramarines, that toxic Ultramarine list still. So there's a chance that like I could really take this all the way. I get paired into still probably one of the yellow matchups, which was Derek Apshe on Chaos Cults. And
My
I got
favorite army in the game.
yeah, it is actually a favorite army in the game.
It genuinely is my favorite army in the game.
There's just one thing to watch out for in this matchup that I caught on to very quickly. Again, Brian was being nice. Brian doesn't like pressuring people with clocks, especially competitive players that know what they're doing and know what's going on. To my opponent, who even was like, "Hey, I've never been clocked before. Let's not use a clock. Like, do we really need a clock for a 3 hour round?" And I was like, you know what? Sure, fine. I guess we don't need a clock for this round because I'm pretty nice about that. I don't really like pushing for it. We get into the game and it just game's not really moving that quick. We end up going to time and the game gets called before round four. Um, in fact, my round three was like already like a 5 minute round three. Like I tried to play as fast as I could to salvage as much time as possible. Judge comes over, says we have 15 minutes, and I was like, there's no way we're salvaging this time. So, yeah, the turn two took like 2 hours, man. It was pretty rough.
For anyone who doesn't know, I think Chaos Cults, at least the list that I've been building with it, it's the most model intensive army in the game. Like
Yeah.
typically a cult army is going to have a minimum of 150 infantry models to move.
And
And like most of the ones I've written have 240 as like the final
and
total.
the issue with Chaos Cults too, over like the other Horde armies like Green Tide or Endless Swarm or even Bridgehead to an extent, is like Bridgehead, each of those 10-man squads have three models that matter. Same thing with like
Yeah,
Endless
not
Swarm,
not the case for
models don't
cults.
matter. No models matter in Endless Swarm, right?
Mm.
For Chaos Cults, every little model has some unique bullshit, right? Like that
Hmm.
matters.
It actually
So
takes forever to roll out an ACDC combat
so
because
yeah, it's on me for not asking for a clock. But if somebody's playing Horde at this point, I'm gonna clock every Horde player I play against from now on. And that's not to be rude, it's just to keeps it feels bad's from happening because that's exactly what happened. It was a feels bad. Now, Derek himself, him and I were going back and forth on banter. We were both being like fun, good sports, having a good time. It felt really bad. He didn't really want to resolve the issue of not really having like getting timed out. Like I'm not talking out 2 turns of gameplay. I don't care if somebody thinks they're going to win or somebody thinks they're going to lose. Like anything can happen in 2 turns of gameplay, especially into World Leaders where an Angron revive, big swing on a Mo, fight on death spikes, right? You never know. So, I wasn't really interested in talking it out. We just kind of called it as it was. The TO just said leave it as it is. Um, I was pretty sure I was going to table him at a certain point in that game. Like all the accursed cultist bricks were spent. The gimmick, man, of the cultist lists is that you have to respect their threat range turn one because they have the scout brick, and they will one tap Angron with
They have
those
the speed
accursed
of
one.
world leaders and the lethality, which is slightly higher than world leaders. So like,
But
yeah,
they only get like one, like, they get like a go turn, and after that, it's kind of it.
yeah,
And I started Mo on the board. I was like, hey, if you want to run at me turn one, here's Mo on the board, who's going to heroic intervene, and my entire army castled up behind Mo. Mo was like standing in front to take the hit. He ended up not falling, obviously not doing the thing. So I feel like if your opponent doesn't just let you charge them turn one, then it's going to be a 5 turn game when you're playing with Chaos Cults, right? Like Chaos Cults
100%. Yeah,
either run you
100%.
over turn one and make the game unwinnable, or it's going to be a
Or
five
it
turn
takes
game.
forever. Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened is it took forever and we didn't even get to really a turn four. So is what it is. I wasn't gonna just let the list run me over turn one. Mo neutered one of the Mo went out and took Bile's head and smashed it into the ground repeatedly. If you don't know, Bile's revive isn't end of phase, it's mid activation. So Bile got knocked down by Mo, got back up because he didn't hear a bell, and then the bell swung right back into Bile's face and he died forever. So it's a
Sick.
dumb. I don't know why it's not an
His
end of phase
revive is
standout.
super weird. Yeah.
It, 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 uh, an accursed brick charges Angeron with its full might and does 0 damage. Angeron sweeps with
That
an
is fucked.
Invocatus fight on death, and that's why I was like, I'm not gonna talk it out, man. Like it's just still like it's still spiking one way or the other.
Mm.
The Angeron sweeps picks up the majority of the brick with the Invocatus fight on death, also picking up like scraps of the brick. Like there's like 2 torments left touching Angeron. That's it. He does Kung Fu to negate Mo's fights first a little bit, but Mo still does get to fight first of the accursed brick, but only gets like 4 berserkers to activate. That's it. Into the brick because he charged with other cultists that Mo had to swing into. So Mo's like killed 300 points of cultists and dies, and I'm like, fine, you did good, child, my sweet summer child. So one accursed brick is like down to just the torments. One is completely neutered by Angron, and then there's another active one on the board. The Exalted Eightbound then charge the other active one, pick up the majority of it with sweeping. So the other healthy brick is almost dead. Jackals come and finish off the one that's touching Angron, which is kind of a curse to say. And then the other brick that only had torments, Exalted Eightbound hit and almost killed all of them. And that's when we clocked out. And I was like, you physically can't hurt me anymore. Like you have a couple, all of his plasmas were hazardousing and all of they were blowing up in the dude's hands. He had like Demonette, Celeste, and a handful of torments running around the board. Didn't want to talk the game out. I didn't want to talk the game out any further. I was like, if we clocked out, the win is yours if you want it, man. Took it, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go gamble. Let's go gambling because I'd rather go gamble. I tried to stay a good sporter about it. At the end of the day, guys, it's on me for not asking for a clock. And I think the last major that I played in, or GT, I forgot my blessings, and that was also on me. I learned a lesson and had a blessing tracker with me the whole time, and now I'm also going to have a clock with me the whole time. I'm not going to clock every player I play against, but I'm respectfully going to clock every person I play that has 200 models. So let's leave it.
It's not the greatest way to go out after an amazing run. Um, I
It isn't,
think
but
it's very good of you to take ownership of the facts that you should have maybe gone for the clock. But it is what it is. We don't want to encourage drama, guys, so like don't get into it too much. You know,
no,
it's
there's
fine.
not.
These things
It,
happen.
it it is what it is. My expectation going to this event was to go X and one. I
Yeah,
exceeded my X and one. I
like you did
mean,
amazing. You know, like you got to the shadow round, which is more than any other world leader player at the event. Not to like take away from the performance of anyone else, because there was a lot of really well performing world leaders there. But you did the best of all the world leaders. You had the whole community behind you. Everyone was like insanely hype.
and
Like
I
you made us exceptionally proud as well. I think it goes without saying. Like we're We're behind you the full
And
way there.
it helps that I had my goal coming to this event was I wanted to be there to earn my ITC crown. Um, I'd ended up not needing to even play in this event to get it, but that took a lot of pressure off me while I was at the event. This was just a cherry on top for me. I was just here to have fun, and I really looked inside, and well in a few of my games, and I was like I looked in like internally, and I was like, what am I doing? Why am I here? I'm here to have a good time. I'm here to play good 40K. I'm not here to get upset, get angry, none of that. So that was my goal coming into this event was to just have a good time. And that's why at the end I was like, it's on me for not having a clock. Let's leave it at that. That is what it is. And I'm really thankful for all the support that you guys are giving me. A lot of people were coming up to me. My phone was getting blown up with messages from everybody saying tough luck, like we're proud of you, all that stuff. Like this was
Not me though.
such
Fucking hell.
this was
Nothing
such
like
an
that from me.
I know, yeah, no. Dara was like, "You dumb idiot, you should play better." Um,
I woke up and I nearly threw my phone out the window. It was like,
but
you idiot, why didn't you ask for a clock?
because I'm too nice, man. I'm just a people pleaser. What can I say? And it's just, I'd say the last IT season and this one have all. I want to clump them together into like one arc for me. Like this is like me learning how to play the game and to becoming a decent player into just where I've gotten now. I'm really proud of like where I've gotten, the performances that I've achieved, all the people I've met along the way and supported me. I'm in a really good place mentally with the game right now. I
You're
love,
doing okay, I think.
I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Next year it's Ryan's turn. I'm not trying this hard to get ITC again. I'm tapping out.
Yeah.
I guess.
If we can rotate best world leader in the worlds between members of the Red Path for the next like 4 years, I'm totally chill with that.
Yeah. But I'm coming for best ITC, world leader ITC in Canada though. That is, you can have the world. I want Canada. That's how it's gonna
Okay.
go.
Enjoy your ice cream land. Yeah, obviously you finished the event Best World Leaders at LVO for 2025. You finished the year as Best World Leader player for the ITC. You've played against a phenomenal amount of high level opponents. You've won multiple GTs, gotten into like I feel like you've been in a final in every GT in the last like however many million years. Got to WCW. It was a hell of a year, Brian. It was a hell of a year. You capped it off in a very, very stylish way. Um, I think it's fair to say that like since joining the channel, like you've contributed immensely to it, and obviously the community has benefited hugely from your insight. I think it's also very fair to say if you're still watching the video, drop a comment, congratulate Brian for everything that he's achieved because the man has done insane. So bring it home for Brian in the comments down below. This guy deserves a hell of a big applause because he's certainly not going to get it from me, that's for sure.
No.
Um, yeah, I mean, like anything to add before we kind of wrap this one up and start closing this out.
No, I mean just it's thank you guys. It's surreal. Like I didn't see myself being here a year and a half ago. And that's just so I can further emphasize like I don't do this, Dara and I and the Red Path and all of us, we don't do this because it's a business. We do it because we love it. And we do it because we're just guys with a passion for this hobby. And we each love this hobby in our own individual, like from our own perspectives. And there's no correct perspective of how to play or enjoy 40K. No one can tell you you're wrong for only listening to books and saying you like 40K. No one
You
can say
can
you're
be
only
wrong
wrong.
if you run Terminators
Yeah, oh, okay,
and
maybe.
Helldrakes. You can be
But
wrong then.
and somebody brought up a very good question in the Discord. It was just like the how did you do it? And my answer
Mm,
is that anybody can do it. Anybody can get to where I am currently. Just a little bit of
100%.
gumption, a little bit of hard work, and more importantly, preserve your integrity. Learn how to be a a good competitive player means you're also good at playing the game and being a good person at the table and making sure people want to come back and play you.
Yep.
So that would be my takeaways. 2025. I'm ashamedly excited. I will ashamedly admit that I'm excited for the Emperor's Children release. I'm looking to branch into CSM and Emperor's Children a little bit. Don't worry, guys. I'm still a World Leader main. Our codex is right around the corner. It's going to be toxic as hell. Pretty much what everybody was saying about the demons is true. And it ended up being true. We're probably Emperor's Children got demons in their codex. Now it'd be bizarre if the other three didn't as well, which means like the monkey's paws curling and disciples of the Red Angel, my cursed attachment, maybe GW just copy and pasted it over. Be awesome. Maybe it
Oh
was linked to
God.
me. Oh. So we'll
Yeah.
see. I'm excited. I'm definitely going to be playing a lot of cool stuff in that list. I'm not going to be focusing on probably the best stuff. I want to be focusing on the cool stuff. And that's going to be kind of my attitude for 2025. Community building. I'm working on getting my own GT going. Um, Helping my team get up to par. I'm going to be playing in a lot more team events and just helping my like teammates get up there to where I am and just having a blast. Still going to be around. Still going to be taking skulls. Just annoy Ryan a little bit more than me. Go ping him.
I think it's fair to say that a huge thanks should go out as well to our Patreons who contributed
Yes.
massively to getting Brian to this event because that is generally how we use our Patreon funds is getting the good members of the Red Path to as many and as big events as we possibly can. It got Ryan and Brian to WCW, got me to No Retreat, and got Brian to the LVO. So thank you so much, Patreons. If you have enjoyed like this kind of chat and this sort of competitive discussion, and if you do want to sort of like up your competitive game and you're looking for specifically insight into the world leaders, you can join our Patreon. You will get access to the competitive premium channel in our Discord. All the links are down below. It is where you can go if you want to get like direct advice from myself, Brian, Ryan, and the other guys from the team, Jamie and Jack as well. Of course, you can just join the Discord for free, and there is a competitive channel in there. So like you're more than welcome to hop in there too and ask us some questions. Any support is always appreciated. For now, though, we've been going for a little while on this one, but it is a long video. It merits the length because Brian has achieved the impossible. Actually, I literally just realized after years of me, Jack, and Jamie going for it, you're officially the first member of the Red Path to take home Best World Leader. So fuck yeah, let's go, dude. I absolutely love it. It's been a great year. Been a great year for competitive world leaders. Been a great year for us in the Red Path, and we have so much planned for this year. It's not even funny. 2025 is going to be fun. So if you've enjoyed it, folks, drop us a like, drop us a comment, let Brian know what you think down below. And of course, until the next one, you want to take us out for this one, Brian?
Absolutely, Dara. All right, guys. Stay healthy. God, no!
Oh, you
Stay
fucking
healthy,
choked.
stay safe, and kill, maim, burn.